Hey, what's up, everybody? Pat here, great for recovering alcoholic and addict, just like every day. Guys, please don't forget to subscribe, leave the video a like, drop me a comment, and by all means, share it with anybody you think might get something out of it. Here we are again, guys. Day Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday's day 4 of the illness that will not go away. Yeah, I'm still pretty sick. And I know I talked about, and it's just, guys being responsible. I was talking about how I'd stepped up and I was going to chair my Tuesday, chair the Tuesday gratitude group AA meeting, but I get up this morning and we're going to talk more about my grounding sheets because I actually thought I was feeling 1,000% better. I suspect that my grounding sheets are doing such a good job that I get up in the morning and I feel a lot better. And then about an hour after I was up, everything came crashing back in. The pounding headache, the sinus infection, the upper respiratory infection, and then on top of it, my stomach started really gurgling. I had a one emergency call, a water leak I had to go take care of, so I got that done. And by the time I did that, I had to run home. I was not feeling well. So, being so tapped in and so well connected our group is, I reached out to the second person that said they were willing to chair, and there she's also the key holder for the meeting. And I said, listen, if you need me to, I'll be more than happy to. I was looking forward to it. I can mask up, I can glove up, but I don't want to risk anybody else being sick. So if you're still available to chair, I will pass it on to you. And she said, of course, she'll be happy to. And they all wish me well, and I hope I feel better. Guys, I was really looking forward to chairing the meeting today, but I'm not going to go and get a bunch of other people sick. It's just not right. So, that's just something we do, and we'll talk more about the grounding sheets after the reading. But we're going to get into the reading because this is an awesome reading, guys. I've talked about surrender so much in this past year, and again, I always say, I know it sounds so counterintuitive, but surrender is giving. It is just surrendering the surrendering, trying to make active addiction work is all we're giving up here, and it's a reading trade. Surrender to win. It's a really good reading. So forgive me, I'm a little. You guys can tell I'm not all there. Surrender to win. Help for addicts begins only when we are able to admit complete defeat. Complete defeat. What a concept. That must mean surrender, as in surrender, to give up absolutely, to quit with no reservations, to put up our hands and quit fighting. No. Or maybe to put up our hand at our first meeting and admit that we are addicts. Hmm? So, how do we know we've taken a first step that will allow us to live drug free? Well, we know because once we've taken that gigantic step, we never have to use again just for today. That's it. It's not easy, but it is very simple. We work the first step. We accept that yes, we are addicts. One is too many and 1,000 is never enough. We've proven this time and time again. We admit that we cannot handle drugs in any form. We admit it. We say it out loud if necessary. We take the first step at the beginning of our day for one day. This admission frees us from the need to live out our addiction all over again. We've surrendered to this disease. We give up trying to make active addiction work. Very important, guys. When you surrender, we give up trying to make active addiction work in our lives. Okay? That's what we're surrendering. We quit, but in quitting, we win. And that's the beautiful paradox of the first step. We surrender to win, and by surrendering, we gain a far greater power than we ever dreamed possible. And the affirmation is just for today. I admit that I am powerless over my addiction. I will surrender to win. Guys, like I said, I love that reading. And it explains it really beautifully. I think about how many times I've tried to explain that in my own words and felt it early on, and I still get tripped up and have trouble explaining the beauty, because that's the thing, guys, and that's just one more way it proves this is God at work in my life. If I had full control over everything that was happening in this beautiful recovery that I'm working, I'd have no problem being able to explain it. But so many times I'm at a loss for words for the beauty that is unfolding in my life. And I'm not saying I'm out here walking on Easy Street or walking or living a parade or a day at Aruba every day. But the miraculous changes that have happened from within me, right? My ability to find out who I am, my ability to start putting a life together that works, my ability to literally just step away and overcome every obstacle I put in front of myself for the last 40 years that everybody was convinced would hold me back forever. Guys, in one short year, I've just obliterated all of that because I've surrendered. I've stopped trying to make active addiction work. I've stopped trying to manipulate my free will into getting what I think is the best or right or what I think I deserve or will get me to where I think I need to be. Because I understood. I had no idea of any of that. Like, I had no idea what was best for me. I had no idea what I wanted. I had no idea what a day was going to look like without drugs, or what normal people thought about, or what it felt like to get an 8-hour night's sleep. Like, I either didn't sleep for 16 days and then I'd sleep for like 72 hours. Like, it was just insane. The insanity of my disease, my life before I came in was just exactly that. Raging insanity and overwhelming despair. Moral bankruptcy, spiritually depleted. Those are the furthest things in the world from where I'm at today, guys. Today, I'm an inspiration. I hear this constantly, and I hate please don't take me as me going, oh, this is me. No, because it's not. It's God. But what I've done really, really well is bought into this program. I've surrendered. And guys, for once in my life, I understood. I used to think these were cliche words and like, well, how does saying things? No, you've got to live them. For once in my life, I started living these things, understanding that these steps are action steps. They're not things we talk about in a meeting. Yes, we discuss them in a meeting so that we understand them and we get different ideas and different examples and different other people's expanded take on things. But then we leave, or at least myself, I leave the meeting and I live them in my life. I stop and take stock of where I'm at. What's going on around me? What is it I have in my hand? What's the best I could do with this? How can I make this work for the betterment of everybody around me? How can I work my business so that my customers want to use me more than anybody else and I can still make good money while giving them good value? Like, and it's amazing, guys. Like, I put a little bit of effort into these things. It blows my mind how little effort I put into anything other than getting in and using drugs and then hiding my behaviors and then lying to everybody around me, myself included, first and foremost myself, and then wanting to play the victim card because nothing ever went my way, and anytime I'd start to put something together, I'd burn it right to the ground or I'd give it away. It's so, now I don't want to say funny because it's absolutely not funny, but it's interesting looking back on the stories that I used to tell and how often I was robbed or I was cheated. I used to tell them, oh, I lost a business, I lost a home. Nope, they're right where I left them. Every home I had that I no longer have, nobody stole it. It's right where it was, but I gave it away. I didn't physically hand over my tools, but I might as well have. I knew what was going on, and I had warrants, and I didn't want to get further locked up. I didn't want to be dope sick. I didn't want to face the police, this, that, the other. And I didn't follow up on it. Like, I wasn't there the moment it happened. But within a reasonable time frame, I had found out about it. I probably could have done something to recover them. But again, out of my own fear, I convinced myself that if I go back and investigate it, I'm going to find out who did it and kill them, and I'll spend the rest of my life in jail. Come on, man. Really? Because you know what? I'm somebody that's ever shot anybody, or shot at anybody, or even shot at an animal. No. Like, I'm a pro-gun person. I like to build my own. But other than shooting at a firing range, that's it. Like, I'm not a violent person. I'm not even, I was a fighter in high school because I was picked on and I was, lost and it was a new skill I learned, so I threw it around for a little while. But even then, I did so well for a short period of time, I didn't get in another fight. I think from 9th grade on, because nobody would fight me. And, I got in one in 9th grade, and that was the last fight I ever got into. Like, all these things that all these stories I told were not true. Like, nobody really took anything from me. I gave them all away. More or less, figuratively speaking, if not literally speaking. And I come to see that today, and I'm okay with it because you know what? I understand today. I've been given the most, and that's one thing I saw very, very early on in rehab. And this all ties together. Bear with me, guys. I'm talking about a fresh start, a clean slate. As I sat in rehab, I realized, and again, it didn't come easy because it come from pissing on and burning everything I've ever cared about to the ground over and over again to the point where I just didn't even bother to try to hold on to anything. So when I got into rehab this time around and I realized that I wanted to start over, I mean, of course, obviously I had to start over, but I realized I really wasn't carrying any baggage. I didn't have any, and again, a lot of this is God given, guys, because I still was out there breaking all these laws. But for once in my life, I didn't have any open cases. I wasn't on any probations. I didn't have any time hanging over my head. I didn't have to go check in with anybody. And other than that's why I went with an IOP because like I had an apartment. I didn't need further treatment. I didn't need a halfway house to start over. I had a place to go home to. Like I had all these things that I don't typically have because usually it's the loss of these things that would get me to go surrender. Because I wasn't surrendering because I was tired of what I was doing. I was surrendering because I no longer had a roof over my head, or I was, and even being homeless in Waltham. Had I not been run out of town by the police, I probably wouldn't have surrendered then. I would have kept going to the bitter ends. Like even living homeless on the street in Waltham because they had the food pantry and the soup kitchen and the day center and all these places you could eat every day. I wasn't ready to surrender, but right this time around, like I had a roof over my head, I still had a job every day, and I'm like, no, I was morally bankrupt. That's why things are different this time around, guys. It was me saying a prayer one night, and then God answering my prayer, God hearing me, God seeing the desperation, the willingness, the fact that I did not want to continue, and I did not want to die. So something had to give. So I surrendered. I did the one thing I'd never done before. I gave myself an honest chance. I stopped letting my misfunctioning brain, my corrupt programming, run the show. And I turned it over to God and said, God, I'm going to shut up. I'm going to listen. And I'm going to look every time I hear anything. I'm going to see how it applies to my life. That's the difference, guys. I mixed listening with action. It's one thing to sit there and hear what somebody's saying, but then not apply it to your own life, to your situation. And guys, lo and behold, the minute I did, I started figuring things out. I started seeing answers. I got that hope, that spark of life, that hope. And again, not really spark of life early on because I was pretty hurting, but I started seeing possibilities, right? One of the first things was in rehab, I'm like, if you do this right, you can go start a YouTube recovery channel and it's going to be a big thing for you. And again, my only concept of bigger, that was external to me. So I'm like, oh, I'm getting this download from God that this is going to be big. So I'm like, but it's recovery. It's not going to go viral. I'm like, you know what I mean? But again, but at least I'm weighing things for once instead of just accepting without, listening and then thinking things through and then seeing how it would apply, right? I'm like, well, why? And it just kept coming back to me every day. This is so important. You have to do this. And I kept saying to myself, I'm like, I know I'm not gonna. I'm embarrassed by how I look. I got no teeth. I got the skin tag on my face. Blah, 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 blah. Blah, 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 blah. Could go on for hours, the things that I was unhappy with about myself. Guys, I was a nightmare at that point. I couldn't look in the mirror at that point because I was horrified. Literally, and I would go so long, guys, I wasn't showering. I wasn't sleeping. I wasn't eating. Like, it was terrible. On the once a month when I look in the mirror, I was like, whoa, horrified by what I look like. And nobody should have to live like that, guys. I'm not saying I'm some GQ model now, but at least I have my health back. I get some strength. I get some self-respect. I love the person that I am. I'm amazed by the work that God has done in my life and then in my community through my life. I'm honored to be me today, guys. It's such a beautiful thing, but that is the power greater than any I've ever known that has come through my surrender. And that's literally the difference. For me, and I love the way this reading explains it, but for the easiest way for me to explain it is, again, exactly that. It is stopping trying to work, make active addiction work in my life because it's not good. It never did. It never did. And it's just a testament to how hard-headed I am. And in my determination to fail that I just keep trying for as long as I did because I didn't know any other way. And then I couldn't handle the overwhelming totality of all the snowball, the momentum and the mistakes and then the history and all all that baggage I was carrying with me, guys. I was still like blaming things that happened when I was 12 years old and I was 8 years old. I'm 52 years old. I was 51 at the time. Like, come on. Sorry, I'm still losing my voice, guys. I'm still pretty sick. But you know what? I feel like I'm kind of on the upswing. I'm hoping tomorrow's a better day. But I'm still showing up because that's what we do, right? Recovery's every day, sick or not. I love in this reading when it talked about I can't handle drugs in any form. Now, you want to know surrender? Guys, if you were here with me back in June when my appendix burst and I went into the hospital on Sublocade thinking that they'd understand I'm on Sublocade, like, again, I don't know these things. This is my lack of experience. Of course, if you're in the hospital having surgery, they're going to try and comfort you in some way, shape, or form. Well, I just had it set in my head, no, I'm on Sublocade, you can't. So I walked in, and all of a sudden they're telling me, no, we're going to revert. I don't know, I'm not sure what they did. Because literally, guys, I shut them down so quick, I didn't even hear them out. There are things we can do, more or less, they said. And I'm like, no, absolutely not. I'm like, I'm okay. Like, I walked in here not looking for comfort meds. I'm not seeking drugs. I'm seeking fixing. Like, fix me. And then literally, guys, my appendix had burst. It was emergency surgery. I walked in there at 11 o'clock. It was like 12:30 by the time I was first being triaged. By 3 o'clock, I was in the surgery suite, and then it was like 5 or 6, I don't know, it was a few hours later. But anyway, every new room, a new nurse would come in and be like, what are we giving you? And I'm like, nothing. I'm refusing. Like, I'll take Tylenol and Motrin together. That's it. And they're like, have you had surgery? I'm like, no. And they're like, you have no idea what you're doing. I'm like, I don't care. God and me and my higher power. And I told them, like, I'm an addict. Like, I've been an addict for 40 years. I've been clean for like 6 months at this point. I'm like, no, there is and this is what I told them in the politest way possible. There is a monster that lives in my brain. I've worked so hard. You have no idea the levels I've gone through to put him to sleep. The amount of effort, the amount of change I put in my life, the amount of surrender I've enjoyed and welcome in my life. And I'm not going to allow you to tell me I'm not comfortable enough, that you're going to take a chance of waking that monster back up. And they understood that. They were like, so listen, if I'm crying, screaming in pain afterwards, and that's on me, like, medicate me then. Like, I'll be okay. And I even, right up until the anesthesiologist, like, literally prepping me for surgery. I'm like, sir, no. Like, if you will not remove the opiates from my anesthesia, then you can give me frickin' Novocaine, and I'll be right here wide awake watching you. And the guy's like, you are out of your mind. I'm like, yeah, maybe, but I'm also sober, and I intend on staying that way. And guys, the next morning, as you know, I get out of surgery at 1 o'clock in the morning. They allowed me to drive home at 6 a.m. Clean, sober, and moving better than I had all weekend. Like, for once, I've trusted myself, trusted my higher power, trusted my surrender, used my brain to see things, play the tape through, as they say. That's one of my favorite things, guys. I used to think that was the stupidest thing I ever heard. How do you stop in the middle of being, in the middle of, the emotional thing and stop and play it through? It's very simple. You stop and play it through. You get control of your emotions. And you look at your actions and say, well, if I do this, what's going to happen? I literally had to train myself to do that. And guys, because I have, the results speak for themselves. I was talking to a friend last night. I go, dude, when you do this program right, you don't have to show anybody anything. Like, literally, your life shows for you. The results will speak for themselves. Don't put any pressure on yourself in trying to prove what you're doing. You do it for you and for your higher power. The rest will be obvious as the day is long. And guys, that's what I mean by I've surrendered more than most, and I'm being rewarded more than most. I still have my hard days. I'm still dealing with this brutal sickness for the last 4 days. I was only able to work an hour today. I mean, I could have chose to push myself, but no, I see that too. Clearly, I'm not getting better. I need to give my body some more rest. I came home, went back to bed to those beautiful, let me follow up on that one, those beautiful new grounding sheets, guys. I went out and bought myself a pair of bare earth grounding sheets. They literally plug into the receptacle in the wall. They're supposed to be good for your joints and inflammation and things of that nature. Natural earth electrons available for your body up against your skin as you're sleeping. And again, I go to bed at night with this cold, and I wake up every day with cramps in my legs, my joints, and I beat myself up pretty hard, right? The last 2 days, I've woken up and even being sick, like thinking my sickness was gone, and then an hour after I get out of bed, the sinus starting to come back in. And I will continue to report on these as I get to sleep when I'm not dealing with, I don't know what I'm dealing with, flu, upper respiratory infection, God knows what. There's so many things going around right now. I'll continue, but yeah, so far I've got an extremely high opinion of these grounding sheets in case anybody's interested to do some research on them. Guys, that's the video for today. Thank you so much for being here with me. Always remember, God loves you. I love you. We'll see you in the next one.